You are watching us from today. We're in 69 countries around the world with Numi, growing like wildfire, and we'd love to see where you're logging in from today. We're also live streaming on the YouTube channel for anyone who wants to play that back as well. Welcome online, ladies and gentlemen. We're just setting up for today's event. Some people may or may not speak English, so if that's the case, have a quick listen to this as we get the event underway.
Untuk mengaktifkan terjemahan bahasa Indonesia, silakan klik caption di panel laptop atau handphone Anda semua.
Para poder obtener la traducción en español, es necesario hacer clic en el menú de Zoom y elegir la opción subtítulos en español.
大家好，如果你想看字幕，请按屏幕底下的 CC 按钮，选择中文。此功能仅适用于直播。
Bonjour, bienvenue à cet événement Numi. Vous pouvez activer les sous-titres dans votre langue en cliquant sur sous-titres au bas de l'écran. Veuillez noter que cette option fonctionne uniquement dans la salle Zoom en direct. Merci et bonne écoute.
大家好，如果你想看字幕，請按屏幕底下嘅 CC 按鈕選擇中文。呢個功能淨係適用於直播。
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so please join me in welcoming our MC for today's event, Triple Diamond Mei Chung.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited today. Seeing all of you joining us from all around the world is my favorite presentation of the entire week. And I'm just so honored today to introduce our speaker, my mentor, someone I can call a friend. And not so long ago, about a year and a half ago, I was introduced by my friend to listen to Mr. Stephen Scott to talk about this magic molecule called a glutathione. It took me so long to learn how to say it. But since then, I can tell you, I cannot get enough Stephen. Every single time I hear him speak as the first time I heard him. He is a very successful businessman, an amazing, amazing devoted Christian, and he's also a sought after, very accomplished public speaker. But the special thing about Stephen is that he really speaks from his heart. And I can tell in the area of glutathione, I literally cannot think of another person has the amount of knowledge that he has. He has been studying this molecule for over a decade, and that he has worked with a lot of a lot of medical practitioners. And the way he presented, it's just so fun to listen and so easy to understand. And without further ado, Stephen.
Thank you, May. And what a delight. We go to Canadian events and I get to see May, and sometimes she comes to corporate events that are here in Utah or the Diamond Retreat. And you talk about sincerity and someone who really is motivated to do the right thing with people and kindness and her love for people. She's very accomplished educationally. She would never tell you, but she is a CPA, certified public accountant, and her educational acumen is off the charts. And we just feel really privileged to have May. But we feel privileged to have everybody. I've got to tell you, When we started this, right before we started this company, this wants me to change my language to, there we go, English, save. Right before we started this company, we had a very small group. Michael was at that group, Rhonda Dasher, Sherry Warner, Alex Monterosa, and a few others, maybe 14 of us. And Rhonda expressed something that was really amazing. She said, you know what my prayer for this company is that we can maintain a culture of integrity, that we can attract people. Of course, we're going to attract people that all have different reasons for joining and different motives, but that we'll have an overall culture of honor and respect and integrity, and driven not just by the desire to make a quick buck, but driven by a desire to help other people. Yesterday, Michael had me on the phone with a woman, and she left her company, and she was very successful in that company. And she left because they say, we can't handle you sharing your faith anymore. And of course, I said, you'll never be asked to not share your faith. We just want you to, we always want to be sensitive to people. Not everybody joins a company to hear us preach, but be honest, be transparent. If you don't want to take credit for something that God has done in your life, let God have the credit. That's not hard. And so I see I'm getting a call there. I'm turn my phone upside down. And so we don't tell people to get up on a soapbox, but we certainly won't ever ask anybody not to share what they really believe to be true in their own life. And it doesn't matter what your religious background is. If your faith plays an important role in your life, in your family life, and is a part of your motivation on why you want to serve other people and get this technology and our products out to the world, we support that. And so anyway, but May, she reminded me an awful lot of you, because when you and I first met and you shared your heart with me, and your heart for the Lord, your heart for other people, and it was just like Michelle, that was just really amazing. So anyway, welcome everybody. My job today is to teach the science that we have a little bit. And I want to give you some good news. So why don't I start with some good news? The good news is there are currently 266 equestrian competitors currently engaged in an equestrian event in Calgary, Canada, who have their horses on our supplement. And Phoebe, I know you love horses, and I'm those of you that don't know our dear Phoebe in Australia when she lived in Ireland, I think you were 16. Were you 16 when you had your accident? You can nod your head because I can see you. Yes. She was jumping the horse or something, and he fell and rolled over on her and broke her back. And yet in the Irish spirit, she still has a love for horses. And Phoebe, we heard things the other day. Oh my gosh. These owners their horses are winning events. They're finishing in the top 5. They're seeing remarkable things happen in performance, and they're giving them, between you and me, about 1/5 of the serving size that they should be giving. And yet on that small serving size, 10 cc's, they put it in the mouth with a syringe, and they take 30 seconds to go, 30 seconds, over. And the horse the whole time is going, he's lapping it all around his mucosa inside of his cheeks, and they see immediate results. And there's a lot of results they see in healing that I can't talk about, so I won't talk about. But they're just, so I'm going to go to Calgary because the event season goes all the way through October. I'm going to meet the vets they work with. I'm going to meet the trainers. One of the trainers, who is a real winner, she's either was an Olympian or is an Olympian this year. And it's really hard to be an Olympic equestrian. And she swears by the product. What's so cool is a lot of these riders not only give the product to their horse, they take it themselves. And so it's going to be fun when I go up there. I'm going to go up there for a couple days as soon as I can find a hole in my schedule. And but you know what I love about our product working in horses and in pets, even though that's not on the label, I love that there's no placebo effect. Horses don't get that, oh, this is going to help me perform a lot better now. No, they just perform better. And same thing, I know a number of you have had pets. I had one lady say, my dog is 17 years old and can't even climb up the first step to our bedroom. And the first time we put the dog on Swish, ran right up the stairs and has run up the stairs ever since. And it's not that it's a stimulant, as those of you that haven't heard about our science, we're not a stimulant or anything else. It's just we give the cell, you know, you have 50 trillion of them, what they desperately want. That's all. And the reason they want it is because it's critical, not optional, critical to cellular function and to optimizing cellular function. So we're going to talk about it. And I think a good place to start, let's start, you know, usually this is kind of reverse order. Glutathione performs 400 functions in the body. Without glutathione, there'd be no life on Earth, no plants, trees, flowers, birds, fish, all life would disappear. Beautiful blue atmosphere, but we'd be a brown planet when it comes to life. There'd be none. And so it's that important. And we'll get into some of the things that glutathione does, but we're going to start backwards. Normally I build up, but because of some pictures we have, we'll actually start with its role as an antioxidant. Now, glutathione is the most studied molecule in medicinal science. Over 184,000 published studies in PubMed, the United States Government Library of Medical Science, and most studied molecule. And why is it the most studied? Not because people get a kick studying it, but because scientists, molecular biologists, medicinal chemists, they realize that glutathione has a role in just about everything. And so if you want to impact any area of a person's life, why not start with glutathione, which is at the root of everything, right? You know, you don't plant a dead flower and hope it grows. You plant a little seed, and it starts with the seed, and the soil has to be prepared, and the soil has to do everything right, and it has to get the water, it has to get the sunshine, and a plant grows, and out come the flowers. So why not start at that root level instead of trying to fix everything up here? Let's go down to a cellular level, and that's what we do with our technology in glutathione. So glutathione, if you ask about half the doctors in America will say, yeah, I think I remember something from medical school. It's an antioxidant, right? Well, that's like saying Mount Everest is a hill. Yes, it is an antioxidant, but it's also the most important antioxidant. It's the only antioxidant that you have to live. All other antioxidants, you can take them away. You may get sick, but you're not going to die. You will die if we took glutathione away. So what we're going to start out with is its antioxidant role. Before I tell you why that's important, we'll show you this. Every cell in your body is attacked by 10 to 20,000 free radicals every day, and you have 50 trillion cells. But every cell is attacked by 10 to 20,000 free radicals. So we're going to show you something to help you picture what that looks like. That's 20,000 people. So we'll pretend like those are all free radicals in a cell. And now we put you right in the middle of that, the court, and clear everybody else out. And then we say, okay, we're going to give $1 million reward to everybody that can land a blow to that person's head who's on the floor. Well, all of a sudden the stand's empty and everybody goes down. Everybody wants to get their $1 million. That's what our cells face every single day. Now, if that's not bad enough, picture what our cells face in 5 days. That's this picture. Look at that. That's 100,000 people. So that's 100,000 free radicals that your cell will be attacked by just in 5 days. And your cells are going to be attacked every single day for the rest of your life. And when certain things happen in the cell, you can become very sick, you can die, you can start aging rapidly, all sorts of bad things. So let's talk about what happens with free radicals. Free radicals are scavengers. They want to steal an electron from the cell. And when they steal that electron, it causes what's called oxidative stress. And oxidative stress does a lot of bad stuff, but the two worst things it does, number one, it puts inflammation in the cell. Mike, do you have that picture of inflammation of the cell, rather? We can show that. And if you don't see it, I've got it on my phone. You got it? Okay. So this is what the inside of a cell. Now, what you don't see, there's a lot of stuff going on beneath that at an even greater microscopic. You'd have to enlarge even greater, but there are thousands and thousands of particles in there, and they have very specific functions. They don't just stay there because they wanted a place to camp out. They are all programmed by your DNA to do certain functions. And what mucks them up and makes it really hard for them to do their functions the way they're designed to do. And if we enlarge that further, you could even see even in greater detail. But imagine dropping a little bit of mud into that cell. Now what you've got an obstruction that impedes or restricts the functioning of different things within that cell. So instead of functioning smoothly, there's all sorts of problems. You know, out here west, sometimes big boulders will fall down a mountain. I live on a mountain. In fact, one landed on our tennis court one time. It weighed 16,000 pounds, destroyed the court. But big boulders will come down. And when they come down, they'll literally take apart an entire highway, a road. And traffic doesn't get by. They have to figure out other ways to get traffic by that boulder. Well, that same thing happens when inflammation takes place in your cell. Inflammation is our mortal enemy. Inflammation opens up the gateway to every disease state we know of. Every disease state is opened up at a cellular level by inflammation, and inflammation slows down recovery from those disease states. It impedes, remember, it obstructs and impedes the natural functioning of the cell. And so you get a disease, if you get a virus, do you recover in 7 days, 12 days, 14 days? Do you recover overnight? Well, the more inflammation in the cells, the longer it takes to recover. The other thing oxidative stress does, and this is really a bad one, is it accelerates the aging of that cell. So the cell begins to age more rapidly, whether it's a skin cell, an eye cell, lung cells, heart cells, brain cells, kidney cells. They age more rapidly, and that's not a good thing. In fact, I can ask anybody on this call, do you want to age? Do you want to get older faster or stay younger longer? I'll be 76 in just a few weeks. And you know what? Just yesterday, I took one of my granddaughters and her mom and her little brother on a date, and we had the most fun playtime. We took the whole morning, and I just love it. I mean, honestly, it's one of the most fun things I do is to take my grandkids out. And I want to do that for the next 20 years. I want to stay as young as I can, both in my brain and my heart, my kidneys, my liver, my lungs. You know, I don't want to be one that, okay, bring grandpa. Here, come here, honey. Let me see who you are. Oh, what's your name again? No, that's not the way I want to operate. You know, their car was about 70 yards away, and I see her get out of the car, and I did something stupid, but thankfully there was no traffic in that lane. And I go, Sonny! And she comes running full speed at me, runs the whole way, jumps up into my arms. And if there had been traffic, I would have been in so much trouble. Thankfully, I think her mom's back was to us, so her mom didn't see what Grandpa did. But anyway, she was excited to see me, and I was so excited to get to spend the morning with her. All that to say, I want to stay as young as I can, as long as I can. And I still write books. I just finished number 16, and I've got 5 more that I want to write if the Lord allows me to live long enough. And, but I want to do at least 1 a year, and maybe 2 a year, as things loosen up for me. So, and I love working with NUMMI. I get to go to work every day, work with my sons, work with a great team, work with an incredible staff, executive team. And even though we're growing fast, and they're really a lot of times stressed because there's so much going on, but it's a joy. It's a joy to be with them because I'm 100%. If I'm 70 or 80%. So I want to slow down the aging in every cell in my body, my skin, my heart, my brain especially. But I want my kidneys to grow older, slower too, and my liver. So all of that's related to oxidative stress. Well, the oxidative stress is created when a free radical steals an electron from the cell. The way an antioxidant works, an antioxidant donates one of its electrons to the free radical. And when that donation takes place, the free radical is captured or sequestered and neutralized. And so without that, we'd all be dead. Well, unfortunately, there are new free radicals, new types of free radicals all the time. There's a whole spectrum of free radicals. They have different sources. Some are sourced from oxygen, some from hydrogen, some from nitrogen. They have different chemical compositions and different structures. And all antioxidants except glutathione, here I'm going to, there goes my sweet wife. I'm going to just blur my background. Not that she's not worth looking at, but I'm ADD and I'll be highly distracted if I keep looking at my pretty wife. So all free radicals are all antioxidant are monofocused. That means they can take out one type, but they can't look at my hair. I mean, it's goofy. It's going invisible and then not visible. So free radicals. How do I stop that, Michael? Is there a way to stop it? Do I get closer, further? What do I do?
Stop moving your hands is the only way.
Oh, okay. I got to move my hands. That's who I am. So vitamin C can take out that one, but it leaves all of those guys. Vitamin E can take out that one, and it leaves all of these. Superoxide dismutase, catalase, vitamin A, vitamin D. They're all CoQ10. They're all monofocused. Glutathione is the only antioxidant. They call it the master antioxidant because it can sequester and neutralize all free radicals regardless of their source, structure, or chemical composition. Now, give you an example of one that's new and very, very aggressive and ugly is called peroxynitrite, not nitrate, nitrite. It comes into our body as the microwaves from 5G antenna enter our body. They react with the nitrogen, and that creates peroxynitrite. Peroxynitrite lives 1 billion times longer than any oxygen-sourced free radical, which are most free radicals are oxygen-sourced. And it lives so long it can transfer from one cell to another. And guess what it does? It attacks your mitochondrial DNA. Why is that bad? Because as long as the mitochondrial DNA remains intact, the cell can't mutate. But when the mitochondrial DNA is compromised and broken, the cell is then at risk for mutating and multiplying, and we know what that is, okay? Everybody think about multiplying mutated cells, and you'll figure it out without me telling you. And so peroxynitrite, because it attacks the DNA, is capable of breaking that DNA, and then once it's broken, you have the risk of cancer. Oh, I said it. Oops. We don't treat, cure, prevent any disease state. We are not a medicine or a medication. We are a supplement. But peroxynitrite is a very, in fact, a whole book's been written about it. And I'll tell you who really put me onto it is one of our doctors on our staff, on our medical board, Dr. Kristen Heischetter. And in fact, she has her office has over 200 5G antennas within a 5-mile area. So she requires all of her staff to be on our product for their own protection. And, but anyway, so glutathione is the one and only antioxidant. No other antioxidant can neutralize peroxynitrite. Glutathione can. But remember, glutathione can neutralize all types of free radicals, regardless of their source structure or composition. Okay, that's the free radical damage. And it's something that I never understood until I met Dr. Keller in 2006. I just thought it was all a gimmick to make us want to buy more vitamins. It's not. Now, the truth is glutathione not only is your master antioxidant and can handle all types of free radicals, it's 1,000,000 times more powerful than any other antioxidant. And here's the good news. The way you remember, the antioxidants donate an electron to capture and neutralize a free radical. Once it's spent that electron, it's done. It's like a gun with no bullets left. It has one electron to donate and it's gone. It's now waste in the cell that the cell has to somehow get out. Glutathione is the only antioxidant that recycles itself. It's like a gun that when it fires a bullet could make another bullet and another one and another one. That's what glutathione does. It recycles itself. It's the only antioxidant that can do that. Glutathione performs, now that's one function, it's antioxidant function. It's a major function. It's a life-saving function, a life-healing function. But that's just one. There's 399 other functions that we know about and probably 1,000 that we don't know about. So what's another one? Well, oxygen transfer is pretty important. And so when your body makes hemoglobin, that red blood molecule, none of us like to see ourselves bleeding, but oh, what a miracle that red blood cell is. And it is designed to attach or bind to oxygen molecules. And then it delivers that oxygen to every cell in the body. The only problem is hemoglobin has the wrong electromagnetic charge. So instead of binding, it can't even connect with an oxygen molecule, kind of like those north poles of magnets when we were kids, we all tried to bring together, and no matter how close we got, they'd start to vibrate and then we couldn't do it. Same thing with hemoglobin and oxygen. Good news is that when the hemoglobin molecule is reduced to a +2 charge, it then will bind to oxygen. The only reduction agent for hemoglobin, nothing else can reduce it, is glutathione. So without glutathione, there's no oxygen transfer. Once again, the planet is emptied of all life. We would be able to take a breath and fill our lungs with oxygen, but the oxygen wouldn't transfer out of our lungs to the rest of the body. So that's a very important function, needless to say. So now we've got two, only 398 to go. Someday we'll have to have a marathon, and we'll have everybody on the call talk about 4 functions of glutathione. And then when we've gone through 100 people, we will have covered every function. But by then they'll probably have found new functions. What else does it do? Well, everybody on this call has at least 200 industrial chemicals in your cells right now, 200, or in your body, not 200 per cell. Everyone they've tested for, they tested years ago at the CDC, over 2,000 people, they tested for 217 chemicals. Every single person had every one of those. In fact, that particular test was the second time they tested, and they tested in the umbilical cord to see what's getting through the umbilical cord to the fetuses. And guess what? Every umbilical cord had all 217 chemicals that they tested for. They were horrified because they thought the average would be 20 or 30 or 40. No, every single one got in. Okay, now, what do those chemicals do when they're in the cell? They are the primary breakers of the mitochondrial DNA. 95% of all cancers gain traction in the human body when the mitochondrial DNA is broken, according to Dr. Dean Jones of Emory University, very preeminent microbiologist here in the United States. He said, quote, at a cancer symposium, if we want to prevent cancer, we must find ways to raise glutathione levels in the cells. And then he said, let me explain. 95% of all cancers gain traction in the human cell through when the mitochondrial DNA is broken. What breaks the mitochondrial DNA is the chemical load inside the cell. Glutathione is the detoxifier of the cell. So if we can raise glutathione levels, we will lower the chemical load in the cell and preserve the integrity of the mitochondrial DNA. So we must find ways to do that. Now, that was years before we started NUMI. He wasn't talking about NUMI. He wasn't talking about any product. He was talking about glutathione. And the problem, see, he said we must find ways. Why did he say that? Because it's not easy to get glutathione to the cells. You can't get it through the stomach. The stomach destroys the molecule. Glutathione is real fragile. It hits the stomach and it breaks. You can wrap it in a lipid or a fat, but that really becomes an inefficient way because it makes the molecule too big to get absorbed by most cells. So it's not very practical. And therefore, it's very inefficient. And it's a little efficient, but it's like trying to ride a bicycle up a steep slope in high gear. You'd pedal real fast and you'd move real slow, okay? And so there isn't really an effective way to do that. Another way is to get IVs. So you can get a glutathione IV. Now, you can get a shot of glutathione, and usually it's with some other things. And it's very ineffective. It's not very much. And what happens is a shot will cost you about $80 or $90, and you get about a 6-hour bang for the buck. The half-life of glutathione, once it's in the cell, is only 90 minutes. So athletes don't do that. If an athlete has a huge competition come up, they will go ahead and get a full IV. Now, IVs go typically here in the United States, 200 to 300, and this was 5 years ago, so who knows what it is now. They would typically go for $200 to $300 per IV. But once again, the half-life of glutathione is only 90 minutes, so you get about a 6-hour bang for the buck, and then you get a 20 to 30-hour tail where there's a little impact, but it's pretty insignificant. And so it's not real practical. Now, we had a doctor in Miami, Florida, who's a plastic surgeon. He was at the operating table 14 hours a day, 5 days a week, and he was spending $900 a week for 3 glutathione infusions because it was the only way he could maintain his physical stamina and his mental focus. He heard about our product and he thought, no way is something that costs less than $2 a serving going to equal or outperform my IV. But he tried it. He went cold turkey off the IV, went on to Swish, and was blown away. He never went back to the IV because anytime he felt a little bit of his physical endurance starting to fall or his mental focus or mental stamina fall, he just swished our product again and he's right back. He called it a reset, which is what all the guys in the Air Force that we tested with called it. They called it their reset button. And we did do an Air Force test, and it was really crazy, crazy good. And I'll tell you about that. Oh, I have a little bit of time. Anyway, so he asked me, he called me a couple weeks later and said, can you come to Miami? I'm going to invite a bunch of surgeons to my office and tell them why this works so good. Because I know if they hear you tell the science, they'll trust it. So he had 42 surgeons, different fields, come into his office. He really didn't need me because his testimony, his wife's testimony, and his nurse's testimony was so amazing. These guys were sold as soon as all that happened. I told the science so they could understand why it was as effective as it was. And they all went on it. They couldn't wait to sign up and get the product. Okay, so we've covered, it's the detoxifier of the cell, which is critical. Every liver cell has 1,000 times more glutathione than any other cell in your body. Why? Because the liver uses glutathione to detoxify itself. Your liver is a landfill in your body. It's what collects all those toxins and waste. And guess what? It's got to get rid of the toxins. And the only way it can do it is with glutathione. So that's another critical function. Glutathione is the sole protector of your immune system. Now, your immune system is designed to protect you. So what happens? Bacteria or a virus come into your body, and they call that a viral or bacterial insult. Once that happens, your immune system kicks into gear and says, guys, we got to do something. This guy's reproducing like rabbits, and we got to kill it before it's reproduced so much that it takes us out. So what it does is you have a particular T cell that creates these other T cells. The T cells are they're called killer cells. The killer T cells then target the virus or bacteria, and they then go after it and try to kill it. Well, your bacteria or virus is reproducing rapidly. How fast your T cells reproduce in response to that bacterial or viral insult is entirely dependent on your glutathione levels. If you have low glutathione, then they reproduce slowly while the bacteria or virus is reproducing rapidly. You lose. The bacterial virus wins. It can take your life. It can make it really slow, your recovery. 25% of the people that got COVID are what they call long haulers. They still have problems, all sorts of problems. Okay. Now, on the other hand, if you raise glutathione levels, your T cells and B cells, which are another assassin, will reproduce explosively in response to the bacterial or viral insult. There was one scientist out of Russia. He did a study, and it was published in the 2020, May of 2020 edition of the Journal of Infectious Diseases. You can look this one up. Here's how you Google search it. It's titled Low Levels of Endogenous Glutathione as the Cause of Severe Symptoms and Death in COVID-19 patients. And it's been documented. Other studies have followed that and validated even further that study. But people with high glutathione levels typically didn't die. Why? Because their T cells could get ahead of the game and kill the virus before you went into what's called the cytokine storm. The cytokine storm is where the lining of the lung, a very rapid inflammation, that's why they call it a storm, takes place in the lining of your lungs, and then that becomes host to pneumonia. And that's what killed most people in COVID. That's why they had so many people on ventilators. It wasn't because you needed that for COVID. You needed that because the lining of your lungs simply were not functioning to capacity. Well, so glutathione is the protector of the immune system. What else? Glutathione is, what have I left out? Have I left out? Those are the ones I normally talk about. I think I've covered it. It also chelates heavy metals. That's really huge. I know a man who was dying from mercury poisoning, and Harvard tried everything, and they finally had to tell him, we're not having any luck. Your mercury level is as high today as it was 6 months ago. He went on one of my older products that was a glutathione enhancement. It raised a precursor of glutathione, and guess what? It saved his life. That guy has had millions of books sold. They're called Chicken Soup for the Soul. It was Mark Victor Hansen. And Mark called me and said, this is amazing. I'll do a video. He did a video for us for free because it had given him his life back. So chelation is an important, very important thing, because you end up with mercury, arsenic, cadmium, beryllium, all sorts of heavy metals from the air you breathe, the water you drink. Okay, what does it mean to you? And I'm going to take 7 more minutes. Glutathione impacts not only the long-term health and your longevity and everything else, and proper cellular function, it impacts every aspect of how you go through a day. Do you go through a day fatigued at 2 o'clock and never get your energy back? Or after you pick up the kids from school, you think, oh my gosh, how am I going to get through the next 3 hours before I get those kiddos in bed? Glutathione affects how you go through the day emotionally, mentally, physically. It affects your mental stamina, your physical stamina, your mental focus, all of the above. And we call it stealth energy. It's not like a stimulant that has a spike and then a crash. In the United States military, 51% of all troops that are deployed become addicted to high energy, high caffeinated energy products, pills and drinks. And the military can't do anything about it because these guys have such long duty calls, 12 hours, 14 hours in a day, 16 hours in a day. They don't get a lot of sleep, and they have to have it to get through their duty call. So they can't take them away. In fact, they give them out free and the base PX and so on, because that's the way they get through it. So it's a dilemma. I read about it in the Military Times in 2014, and they don't know what to do. But they found out that those energy products they increase the incidence of PTSDs. They increase the incidence of other anxiety disorders. They increase the incidence of sleep disorders. They increase the incidence of cardiovascular disorders. They're not good, but there's no choice. So we did a 4-month test with a security team at a highly secure Air Force base. Our frontline fighter is called the F-35, also the F-22 Raptor, but this is an F-35 base, and 12 members of the team were selected, male and female, to be a part of this 4-month test. Do you know, with no prompting at all, they were never told to, without prompting, all 12 were off their energy products after 4 days. They said, we don't need them anymore. And they started sleeping better. They went through their day. If they run down an energy after 10 hours and they still got 2 to 3 hours left, guess what they do? They swish again. And they call it their reset button. And later I had an endurance athlete says, you know what? I did an 8-hour event. I swished 5 minutes before the race and then every hour of the race. And he said, I never went into that deep energy deficit that you go into in the first hour. I just dropped a little bit, but I swished and came right back. He said, I had a physical and mental reset every hour of the 8 hours. At 48 years old, he took second in a race that he used to win when he was in his early 30s. It was crazy. He couldn't believe it. And he said, I wasn't trying to win because I'm too old to win. No, well, he took second, just going at what he thought was a casual pace. Okay, let's show Bill Gillespie real quick, then we'll show a couple before and afters. Bill Gillespie is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. He was strength and conditioning coach for the Seattle Seahawks. Then he went to Liberty University's football team. But he's been an amateur weightlifter, which means he's drug tested after every meet since he was 14 years old. Well, let's go to the chart because this is really cool. Okay. At 49 years old, you see that little red 804. He set a world record in the bench press, bench pressing 804 pounds. Michael, I don't know the kilograms on this.
364 kilograms.
Thank you. And but 10 years later, when I called him in 2018 and he was 59, I said, "How you doing, Bill?" He says, "Oh, not good." He said, "Steve, my of course my lean muscle is down, so I can't, my muscle output's less." He said, I used to lift heavy 4 times a week. Now I can only lift heavy once a week because my recovery's so slow. My bench press is in the toilet. He says, I can only lift 725 pounds. I said, hey, that's a lot of weight for a 59-year-old. He said, yeah, world record for a 59-year-old, but he said, I don't get to compete with the elite guys anymore. So he went on our product and look what happened. There you go. At the age of 60, he bench pressed 1,050 pounds. He was back to heavy lifting 4 times a week, but instead of sets and reps of 400 pounds, he was sets and reps of 700 pounds. At 62, he went to 1,129.8 pounds. How many kilograms, Michael? 512 kilos. And how can a 62-year-old lift 40% more weight than he lifted in his prime at 49, 13 years earlier? The answer, reduce oxidative stress, reduce inflammation in the cells. We're not an anti-inflammatory. We go at the root level and deal with the oxidative stress that creates the inflammation. Okay, now we're just going to look at some before and afters. The reason we show you before and afters are twofold. Number one, we have the world's best skincare product. And I mean that. I've owned 5 makeup companies and skincare companies, and nothing can do this. If you want something fun, take your favorite cosmetic company. It might be L'Oreal. It might be Oil of Olay. It might be Estee Lauder. But type in the name in this Google search address bar, and behind it, type in skincare, and then type in before and afters, click, and then a page will come up, and then click on the word images. Click on that, and you will see everybody else's before and afters. And you will stress to try to see a difference. You go, ooh, I think I see, oh no, I don't see a difference. And then they'll circle little red circles to show you the difference and so on. And some of these products cost $1,500, an individual product. That's La Prairie. Oh my gosh. And they're before and afters. Okay, we're going to show you our before and afters. So this was Sherry Warner. She was about to turn 59 at the time. She sprayed her, I told everybody, spray your face for 8 weeks, take a before, take an after. Well, at 7 weeks, she couldn't wait any longer, and she sent me that. And sure enough, I realized we do have the world's best skincare product. But the reason it's important that you see these is we are doing the same thing in your heart, your liver, your brain, your kidneys, as far as antioxidant value and the other things glutathione does, that we're doing in the skin. The skin's the largest organ in your body. And if we're impacting that, in spite of the fact that it's confronted by more solar and cosmic radiation than your other organs, oh my gosh, then we can fix anything. Notice that her face is not only tighter and smoother and younger looking, it's also brighter. It has opened up her eyes, and it's brighter. And that's not an accident. That's not just changed lighting. That is what glutathione does. It brightens the skin as well as tightens, smooth, and everything else. Let's go to just a few more real quick. Okay, those were my hands. I sprayed for 12 weeks. My right hand, I didn't spray my left hand. I was much younger there. I was 71, but look at the difference. Next, go through these real fast. This is an 84-year-old, and she kept bottles of the spray around the house, and anytime she passed one, she would spray. She was also swishing. Look at her neck. Okay, let's just look at the neck for a second. Look at the neck and then look at it. You can't fix that with plastic surgery. Look at that. When I sent that first picture to my former formulator, who became the head formulator of the company that created Botox. He called me right back. I mean, literally, maybe 60 seconds later, said, Steve, I hate to tell you, Sherry had a facelift. Only he didn't say Sherry. He said the woman had a facelift. I said, no, she works on a farm. She lives on a farm. She's a farmer. No scalpels ever touched her face. I've known her for 15 years. That's our product. Well, then I started sending him more. He said, Steve, there's nothing in the world that does what your product does. I said, I know. Okay, next. Look at that. This is an 80-plus-year-old. Those were her legs after 10 weeks of spraying and swishing. Wow, what a difference. Looks like she dropped about 20 or 30 years. Next. This is a young woman, but she's an esthetician, owns a skincare salon in Miami, Florida. She's called and said, where did my pores go? Look how much smoother, how much brighter my face is. Steve, this is great. There's no product. I've been an esthetician my whole adult life. I've never seen anything like this. Okay, we'll look at just a few more. Here we go. I love this one. I met her last year. She's 60 years old, and that was 1 month. It looks like she's had a facelift, but look at the next one. Look at her neck. Look at the brightness of her face, the tightness. She honestly looks like she's about 42 to 45 in person, just like she does there. Just one or two more. There you see, good. This guy's 67. Once again, tightens, brightens, smooths, open up the eyes. Isn't it nice? Do you know what? You see people who they are when you look in their eyes. And if your eyes are like his eyes on the left, people don't get to see that. But man, look how they open up. After that was 6 weeks, 10 days. Let's go to the next one. We'll just do a couple more. Okay, she has no problem, but look how it evened out her skin tone and got rid of her pores. I shouldn't say got rid of, it diminished the appearance of her pores. This is an 80-year-old, 3 weeks. That's actually Sherry's mom. She is in her 60s. She was a smoker and her skin showed it. But now look, 6 days, that's crazy. Now there is a lighting difference there, but this is in Nigeria. Her daughter, a doctor, gave her the product. Look at how black the top half of her face is in the before and how bright it is afterwards. Do you know that most of the world's population lives in Asia? And Asians want brighter, lighter skin. And they spend a lot of money on skin brighteners. Some have terrible side effects. Terrible side effects. And this is India. It is China. It is Korea. And guess what we do? We brighten and tighten and smooth the skin. But we're impacting all your organs. Thank you. That's about it for now. Pray for America. Pray for America. This country is in deep trouble, and we need help. And tonight is a political debate that'll be the most watched political debate since Jimmy Carter debated Ronald Reagan. And we need God's help. More than anything, we need a redeemer, not just a CEO and not just a commander-in-chief. Yes, we need a great commander-in-chief, a great CEO, but God is who we need to help us out of the mess we're in. And if we don't get out of our mess, there's not a lot of hope for many parts of the world that depend on us to be there for them. You can't be, if you're drowning, you can't save another drowning person. And America's drowning right now, in my opinion. And we're part of the answer. NUMMI gives real hope. It gives hope for our physical life and our financial life. The right definition of hope, I've been giving it in our daily call, which ends tomorrow. But this is a good definition to write down. It's the true definition of what hope. You won't find this in any dictionary. But if you studied hope like I have, you looked at the life of Corrie ten Boom, her sister Betsy, who died in a Nazi concentration camp. If you look at the lives of Helen Keller, which I've studied, if you look at everything the Bible says about hope, this is the definition you come up with. Hope is the well-founded, there has to be a foundation for hope, the well-founded, confident belief that that which is promised, pursued, or committed will be achieved within a specific amount of time. Our foundation at NUMMI is as solid as concrete. Why? Number one, science. 184,000 studies of glutathione show us the desperate need for glutathione, which declines, by the way, every year of our life, starting at the age of 20. But it's founded in science. That's one of the ingredients of our cement. The other one is personal experience. Everybody on this call has either had an experience on our product. Maybe you didn't lift 1,129 pounds like Bill Gillespie, but you get through your day more easily. When you get sick, you don't stay sick. You don't get as sick. The trainer for the Detroit Lions football team, one year he was training the Arizona Cardinals. They all got sick. He didn't. His whole family got sick. He didn't. But he was downing our product, and that doesn't mean it's going to keep you from getting sick. But glutathione is critical to our immune response. And these guys were downing it so much, he made it through some terrible times that everybody else experienced. So with that, back to the foundation. Science and personal experience. If you haven't experienced it, you know someone who has, because they asked you to join this call. And now we're going to add a third one. Guess what the third one's going to be? It works for horses who have no placebo effect, but they're performing at levels they've never performed at. That's why I'm going to spend at least a week learning everything I can from the vets, the trainers, the owners, because this is a very, very, very big deal. And if it works for horses, it'll work for any pet. So we covet your prayers at NUMMI, and pray for your fellow NUMMI family members. You know, a lot of them are hurting right now for different reasons. And if we are a family, we really are. Are we perfect? Not even close. Not even close. Thank God that our relationship with him doesn't depend on our perfection. It depends on him, his love, his mercy, and his grace. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next Thursday. What else? Tomorrow we have a morning call that all of you people in the Southern Hemisphere will be asleep, but in the Northern Hemisphere will be on that call. No, it's not morning. It's 1 p.m., 2 p.m. Mountain Time. So it is early morning, Australia time. And hope to see you there. Get your friends on. This is for you and for them. Michael, back to you. You may have some announcement or something.
Beautiful. Thank you, Steve. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're online right now, did you know we're actually live streaming on YouTube? And if you want to see before and after photographs, you need to apply to join this group. But this is where the company's official group is, with so many different before and afters, testimonials, and the live stream event like this. So make sure you join the group. If you're not already in it, you're not in the action. So good morning.